Have you ever found yourself exhausted, not from what you're doing, but from what others might think about what you're doing? That lingering anxiety, that quiet pressure to perform, to please, to fit in, to be liked. It's like carrying an invisible weight. Every step you take feels monitored. Every decision, second-guessed. You smile when you don't feel like it. You hold your tongue when your truth wants to speak. And slowly, your soul whispers, "This isn't me." But here's a truth most people never dare to fully embrace. You owe no one your conformity. The moment you stop caring what others think is the moment you start living. What if ignoring the opinions, judgments, and expectations of others is not selfish, but sacred? In this video, we're diving deep into the powerful, liberating practice of tuning out the noise and tuning in to your authentic life. You'll learn why caring less about others' opinions doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you free. We'll explore the hidden psychological traps of people-pleasing, the spiritual wisdom of detachment, and real-world insights that can help you reclaim your peace and power. And trust me, once you truly get this, the world won't control you the same way again. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand the cost of caring too much, you'll be armed with tools to stop it, gently but powerfully. Ready to live life on your terms? Let's begin. But first, ask yourself, what would you do differently today if no one was watching? The silent burden of approval. Most of us don't realize how early we inherit the habit of seeking approval. As children, it starts innocently enough. We look to our parents for cues. Am I doing this right? Am I being good? Am I loved? And the world answers us with smiles, rewards, or silence. Slowly we learn that approval equals safety, so we chase it, often without question. But this desire doesn't stay in childhood. It matures with us, taking new forms, needing likes on social media, tailoring our opinions to match the room, or choosing careers that sound impressive rather than feel aligned. We become experts at shape-shifting. We please, perform, and perfect, until we forget who we are underneath all the masks. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly scanned it to see how others perceive you? That hyper-awareness isn't intuition. It's anxiety masquerading as awareness. And the cost? It's not just emotional exhaustion. It's the slow death of authenticity. When you live by the mirror of others' expectations, you lose access to your internal compass. You forget how to say yes to yourself without looking sideways. The most dangerous part? This burden is invisible. You can be successful, kind, even loved, and still be secretly imprisoned by the fear of not being enough in someone else's eyes. But ask yourself, whose approval are you really living for? And more importantly, why do they have that power over you? Here's the truth. Those who truly love you don't need you to perform. And those who need you to perform never really loved you at all. So what happens when you begin to unhook from the need for approval? You begin to breathe differently. You begin to walk into rooms not wondering who likes you, but deciding who you like. You speak more honestly, rest more deeply, and say no without guilt. And this freedom? It's not noisy. It's not loud. It's quietly revolutionary. If this resonates with you, let me know in the comments below. You're not alone in this. Why people's opinions feel so heavy? You might wonder, if I know it's unhealthy, why do I still care so much what others think? The answer lies deep in how the human brain evolved. Our ancestors survived in tribes. Back then, being rejected wasn't just unpleasant, it was dangerous. Exile meant death. So our nervous systems wired us to value belonging, to scan for disapproval, and to adjust our behavior to stay connected. But here's the problem. You're not living in a cave or a survivalist clan, yet your biology is still reacting to criticism as if it's a threat to your life. This is why even a passive-aggressive comment, a raised eyebrow, or being left out of a group text can feel weirdly painful. It activates your limbic system, your fear center. It whispers, "You're being rejected, you're not safe." And so you overthink. You replay conversations. You tone yourself down. You apologize for things you didn't even do wrong, just to feel secure again. But what if you could recognize that feeling for what it is? A false alarm. Buddhist teachings offer a powerful insight here. Attachment is the root of suffering. When you're attached to your reputation, your image, or others' validation, you create suffering. Not because those things are bad, but because they're fragile. They change. They're not in your control. Psychologically, this is known as the external locus of control. It's when your sense of worth depends on forces outside you. But the moment you begin to cultivate an internal locus, grounded in your values, your truth, your heart, you begin to unshackle yourself. And suddenly you realize that heaviness you've been carrying, it was never yours to carry in the first place. Try this reflection. Who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when no one needs you to be anything? That version of you, that quiet, undemanding self, is who you've been longing to return to. If this idea speaks to your journey, give this video a like so it reaches others who need it. The illusion of control. You can't manage their thoughts. One of the biggest traps we fall into is believing we can control how others perceive us. We rehearse our words before we speak. We curate our appearance. We shrink or exaggerate aspects of our personality, depending on who's in the room, all in the silent hope. Maybe they'll approve. Maybe they'll like me. But here's the hard truth. You cannot control someone else's mind. Their opinions are shaped by their upbringing, traumas, biases, and insecurities. Even your best intentions can be misread through the lens of their pain. Imagine this. You send a kind text to someone, and they don't reply. You immediately wonder, did I say something wrong? Did I offend them? But what if they were just busy, or their phone died, or they were having a bad day? You've created a storm inside your mind based on a story that may not even be true. This is the emotional cost of trying to manage perception. You exhaust yourself over things that were never yours to manage. Spiritually, this is like pouring water into a sieve. No matter how hard you try to fill it, it leaks, constantly. And that leakage? That's your energy being drained by illusions. Instead of asking, what will they think of me? Shift to, what do I think of myself when I do this? This one question alone can transform your life. The Buddha taught, you can search the whole universe and not find anyone more deserving of your love than yourself. When you live to impress others, you abandon that truth. You betray your own inner peace, trying to win approval you may never receive, and don't even need, so let go. Let go of being misunderstood. Let go of being misjudged. Let go of being liked by everyone. There is deep peace in knowing not everyone is meant to see you clearly. And that's okay. The liberation of letting people be wrong about you, one of the most emotionally mature things you'll ever do, is let people misunderstand you and not rush to correct them. It sounds simple, but it requires deep inner strength. Think about how often we try to explain ourselves, defend our actions, or prove our intentions, especially when someone misjudges us. There's a desperate need to be seen, to be right, to be cleared. And yet, the more we try to control someone else's opinion, the more entangled we become in their drama. Here's a spiritual truth that might shake you. Their misunderstanding of you is not your burden to carry. Imagine the freedom in that. Imagine someone misinterpreting your silence as arrogance, and you just let them. Imagine someone calling you too much or too quiet, and you simply smile and carry on. No defense, no explanation, no war within. Why? Because deep down, you know who you are, and you're no longer trading your peace for temporary validation. This is the true power of ignoring, not out of spite, but out of alignment. There's a quiet dignity in choosing stillness over noise, in walking away from people who thrive on conflict, in refusing to shrink just to be more palatable. Think of the great spiritual teachers. Buddha was misunderstood. Jesus was rejected. Even Gandhi faced ridicule and resistance. Yet they didn't spend their energy explaining themselves. They lived in truth and let time do the talking. So, what if you stopped arguing with perception and started living your truth? What if your peace became more important than your reputation? This is not weakness. This is mastery. And the moment you no longer need others to get you in order to feel whole, you become untouchable. The high cost of people-pleasing. On the surface, people-pleasing looks generous. You're being nice, helpful, agreeable. You're keeping the peace. But underneath, there's often a quiet desperation. If I make everyone happy, maybe they won't leave. Maybe I'll be loved. Maybe I'll finally be enough. But let's be clear, people-pleasing isn't kindness. It's self-abandonment disguised as virtue. When you say yes out of fear, when you avoid conflict by silencing your truth, when you tolerate disrespect just to keep harmony, you are betraying yourself for temporary safety. And the cost? It's everything. It's the silent resentment you carry after agreeing to something you didn't want. It's the aching fatigue from always being on. It's the erosion of self-trust every time you override your gut feeling just to be accepted. Over time, you stop recognizing your own needs. You confuse being liked with being valued. You wake up wondering, who even am I anymore? This is the trap of conditional belonging. You're accepted, but only as the version of you that performs, not the one that rests, not the one that disagrees, not the one that says, actually, I don't want this. And here's the most heartbreaking part. The more you please, the more you attract people who expect it, who take, who push your boundaries, who get angry the moment you say no. But real love, real friendship, real connection thrives on honesty, not performance. The Buddhist principle of right speech teaches that truth should be spoken with compassion, but also with courage. It is not kind to lie about your needs. It is not loving to silence your soul. So ask yourself, how many yeses in your life are actually silent screams for help? The moment you start telling the truth, even when it's awkward, even when it disappoints people, is the moment your real life begins. And trust this, when you stop people-pleasing, you don't lose people. You lose the ones who were never truly for you. The spiritual strength in silence. In a noisy world obsessed with opinions, the ability to remain silent is often mistaken for weakness. But silence, when chosen consciously, is a profound act of power. You don't need to explain your every move. You don't need to argue every criticism. You don't even need to reply to every message that pulls your energy. Sometimes the most powerful response is none at all. Why? Because silence says, I do not need to convince you. I am at peace with myself. From a spiritual perspective, silence is not absence. It is presence. It's the space where wisdom arises. It's the quiet void where intuition whispers and the soul breathes freely. In Buddhist monasteries, periods of noble silence are practiced not as a punishment, but as a gift, a way to reconnect with what is eternal, not what is external. Now imagine applying that to your life, not retreating from society, but simply refusing to feed the noise. When gossip surrounds you, you remain still. When you're misunderstood, you don't chase explanation. When judgment arises, you watch it pass like clouds in the sky. This isn't detachment from people. It's detachment from drama. It's choosing the inner temple over the outer circus. And here's the surprising truth. The more you embrace silence, the the more you hear yourself clearly. Your decisions become less reactive. Your boundaries grow firmer. Your energy becomes sacred, not because it's loud, but because it's centered. In silence, you remember something modern life makes you forget. You are not here to entertain, convince, or explain. You are here to be. So when the world pulls at you to react, to explain, to perform, pause, take a breath, and let your silence speak for you. If this truth is landing in your heart, share it in the comments. Sometimes your words can help someone else wake up too. Choosing your own voice over their noise. There comes a moment in life when you realize you've been living under other people's scripts. What you should do, who you should be, what success, love, and happiness should look like. But what if those scripts were never written for you? What if your real voice, the one buried under years of shoulds and musts, is waiting patiently to be heard? Every time you ignore your intuition to please someone else, you reinforce the lie that their opinion matters more than your truth. And every time you finally choose yourself, you rewrite the story of your life. This isn't easy. Choosing your voice over their noise will make people uncomfortable, especially those who benefited from your silence. Some will call you selfish. Others might say you've changed. And in a way, they're right. You have changed. You're no longer abandoning yourself to be accepted. This is where spiritual courage comes in. Buddhism teaches that the path to awakening is not always smooth. It's often filled with discomfort. Not because truth is painful, but because letting go of falsehoods is. The ego resists. The world resists. But your soul? It begins to rise. Choosing your own voice means listening to your inner guidance, even when it whispers something different from the crowd. It means honoring what feels right, even if others don't understand it. It means walking away from people, places, and patterns that no longer align with your growth. You stop asking for permission. You stop needing applause. You stop explaining your path. Because your peace no longer depends on their agreement, it depends on your alignment. And when you live like that, something magical happens. You stop attracting noise. You start magnetizing truth. The energy shift that changes everything. Have you ever noticed how draining it is to be around people who expect you to earn your worth? The energy feels tight, conditional, like you're walking on a stage, hoping not to slip. But something incredible happens when you stop caring what others think. The entire energy of your life shifts. You walk into a room, not to prove yourself, but to simply be yourself. You speak your truth, not to dominate, but to express. You make choices, not based on fear, but based on alignment. It's subtle at first, a quiet inner shift. You start noticing who actually respects your boundaries. You see who celebrates you when you're no longer bending. And most importantly, you start respecting yourself more deeply, because you're finally honoring your own energy. Here's the spiritual beauty. When you let go of performing, you stop attracting audiences. You start attracting mirrors, people who reflect back the truth of who you are, not the mask you used to wear. And this doesn't just affect your relationships. It transforms your health, your creativity, your peace. Because emotional labor, constantly managing how others see you, is a hidden energy leak. And when that plug is pulled, your vitality returns. In Buddhist thought, we often hear about right action, actions that come from clarity, not compulsion. When you release the need to be liked, your actions become cleaner, lighter, more purposeful. You no longer serve from guilt. You serve from wholeness. This is not about rebellion. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you who to be. So ask yourself, with compassion and honesty, What parts of me are performing just to be accepted? And more importantly, what would my life feel like if I stopped? Because the moment you stop caring what they think, you don't become careless, you become free. Your attention is your power. Protect it. Fiercely in today's world, your attention is currency. Everyone wants a piece of it. Social media, advertisements, even well-meaning friends and family. But here's something we rarely realize. Where you place your attention, you place your power. When you constantly focus on how others see you, you feed their influence. You give them permission to shape your emotions, your decisions, your sense of worth. Think about it. A single comment from a stranger can ruin your whole day if you give it your energy. A dismissive look, a passive-aggressive tone, a cold shoulder. These things only have power when you turn toward them, analyze them, and internalize them. But what if you didn't? What if you simply decided that not every look, comment, or opinion deserves your response? Buddhist philosophy teaches the concept of mindfulness as protection. When you are truly present, rooted in your breath, your body, your being, you become less reactive. You create space. You start choosing your responses instead of leaking them. And within that space, something beautiful happens. You stop being a puppet. You start becoming a creator. You choose what gets your attention. You choose which thoughts you feed. You choose which opinions matter and which ones you simply let float by like leaves on a stream. This isn't denial. This is discernment. And discernment is a spiritual superpower, because when your attention is grounded in your truth, you can't be swayed by noise. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to react to everything. You simply live, fully, boldly, gently. So protect your attention. Guard it like a sacred flame. Not everyone deserves access to your mental space. Not every voice deserves a seat in your inner council. And when you learn to direct your energy inward, not outward, you begin to glow in a way no approval can replicate. The quiet confidence that follows detachment. When you finally stop chasing external validation, a new kind of confidence emerges. It's not loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to be seen, but it's powerful, like a deep river that runs beneath the surface, steady and unshakable. This confidence is born from detachment, not from people, but from outcomes. You stop needing every conversation to go well. You stop needing everyone to agree with you. You stop needing to be chosen, praised, or applauded. Why? Because you've already chosen yourself. This is not the arrogance of ego. It's the humility of alignment. It's the quiet knowing that you are whole, even if others don't see it yet. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that all things are impermanent. Opinions, feelings, praise, criticism. When you internalize this, you stop clinging. And in that release, you find true confidence, one that's not based on achievement or image, but on presence. Real confidence isn't walking into a room thinking you're better than others. It's walking in without the need to compare at all. And when you live like this, you become magnetic. Not because you're trying to be, but because people can feel your peace, your groundedness, your authenticity. The irony? When you stop caring what others think, you often become more respected. Why? Because authenticity is rare, and rare things are valuable. But by then, the irony won't matter, because you won't be doing it for them. You'll be doing it for you. So remember, the power of ignoring others isn't about being cold or detached. It's about reclaiming the parts of yourself you once gave away. And when you stand in that wholeness, the world responds in kind. How to stop caring and start living. The insights we've explored are powerful, but transformation happens when they're put into practice. Here are 7 simple, soul-aligned tools you can start using today to release the need for others' approval and return to your authentic self. The mirror test. Start your day with self-affirmation. Each morning, stand in front of a mirror, look into your own eyes, and say, "I trust myself. I choose my peace over their opinions." It may feel strange at first, but this practice rebuilds your inner authority. Over time, your nervous system begins to internalize a new truth. You are your own anchor. The 3-second rule. Pause before reacting when someone criticizes or misunderstands you. Don't respond immediately. Breathe. Count to 3. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Most things won't be. Silence becomes your boundary. Journaling prompt. Whose voice is this? Whenever you feel self-doubt creeping in, write this down. Whose voice am I hearing right now? You'll often find it's a parent, teacher, boss, or old wound, not your own. Bringing awareness to this breaks the cycle of unconscious influence. Create a no list. Reclaim your time list. 5 things you do regularly just to please others. Then commit to saying no to at least one this week. Start small. Each no is a yes to your true self. Social media detox. Pull back the curtain. Spend 1 full day offline each week. No scrolling, no posting. Just be with your own thoughts. It's incredible how quickly your anxiety